Welcome to Life, Laughter, Divorce, episode 72. I'm your host, Leanne Linsky.
I'm the boyfriend.
Welcome back to another wonderful week of divorce. Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah. Hey, while you're out there tuning in, and before I forget, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe. Unless, of course, you're driving. We want you to be safe. And if you're safe, why not check out the website at lifelaughterdivorce.com. All kinds of goodness there, especially in the retail therapy section. That's right. We haven't talked about the soaps and candles in quite some time, boyfriend. Get your act cleaned up, people.
I don't use a candle so much. It's getting summery now, and I know they could be used all year round, but the soaps, though.
Candles can be used all the time. Romance is in the air. Special night to relax. In the tub, maybe in front of the TV.
Aren't there more marriages in June than any other month?
Yeah, there's a whole June. I was a June bride once.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And my parents were June.
Yeah, you guys aren't going to any weddings. Just stay home, take a bath, light a candle. That's what I'm talking about. All that goodness over at Life, Laughter, Divorce.
Some Barry White or something? What are you doing?
I don't know, watching rom-coms.
Oh, yeah.
Going to watch Jaws, classics, things like that. You could be doing that. Netflix binging, like The Handmaid's Tales. Now, that's a picker-upper right there.
Well, I'm just thinking about Jaws because we actually did Jaws at a movie on the beach. And it was so cold we left.
15 minutes. And then we're like, hey, let's watch it at home. And then I fell asleep. That's my kind of night. That is my kind of night. Hey, you guys, you know what? We're excited to be back. This is actually part 2 with Heather Ann Havenwood that we're excited about. And if you haven't checked out episode 71, the episode right before this one, we highly recommend it. And in case you haven't, let us refresh your memory or introduce you to our guest.
Well, before we introduce you, this one's, since I edited it to put it together, we jump right in. So so there's very little overlap from last week. We jump right in, and she has a very interesting metaphor or analogy
of dating.
Yeah, of dating, and it has to do with rodeo. So enjoy it.
Giddy up. So here you go. Heather Ann Havenwood was named by Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow women entrepreneurs. She is an entrepreneur.com contributor and is regarded as a top authority on digital marketing strategies and online business sales systems. Heather built and marketed her first online business in 1999, and she has played an active role in the digital marketing world since before most even had a home computer. In 2006, she started and developed and grew an online publishing company from $0 to $1 million in sales in less than 12 months. In 2015, she did it again, built a local weight loss and online supplement business from $0 to $1.5 million in sales in less than 18 months. Heather is now an entrepreneur mentor, marketing coach, and sales systems strategist. She has currently focused her work on working with solo entrepreneurs, small businesses, and sales professionals on how to leverage the hottest online techniques such as chatbots, online social behaviors analysis, podcast profiting, and measurement marketing, reading the data to make the best marketing decisions for all CMOs and CEOs. You can learn more about Heather at heatherhavenwood.com. And without further ado,
So you ever watch, I don't know if you ever go to the rodeo. You ever gone to the rodeo before or maybe seen on TV?
I have, yeah.
Okay. So you ever seen the cowboys when they get the calves and they throw the calves down and they tie them up at the fork? It's called calf roping.
Yeah.
You ever seen that? Okay. Super, super cruel, super not, whatever you want to call it. That's how I feel. Because they're like, oh, wow, they're something to boom, dominate, wrap it up.
Yeah.
That's how I feel men are to me. They find it attractive. They find it sexy. Like, yeah. And then they throw me down like, gotcha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, now you need to stay down. But I usually pop back up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not playing that game.
Yeah.
And they're like, whoa, you need to get back down there. And I'm like, no. Oh, well, now you're crazy. I'm like, no, I'm just not going to laid out for you.
Yeah, right.
Right. So it's almost like that piece of them as a man that goes after a little calf. I mean, that's crazy. Or the bull, to tame the bull or to tame the horse. It's that part of them that just feels like they need to tame me,
It's power.
And it's really interesting to watch, because if you actually look at an animal kingdom of the lion, like the true lion, the masculine lion, the female lion is stronger than the male lion psychologically, not physically. It's the female lion that runs everything, just like at the human world. Like, I'm clear women run the world and they run households. I'm clear, right? If it wasn't for the female, sometimes the male will be like, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow, right? So I'm clear about that, but that's the same thing in Animal Kingdom. But they see the lion, the male lion, as the strong one. In actuality, if you watch the pack, it's the female one that goes and gets the dinner. It's the female one that takes care of the cubs. It's the female one that actually starts protecting the cubs, right? It's actually the female lion that's way more stronger. And the male lion submits to the female lion all the time, right? That's actually the animal kingdom at a high level. And I feel like, though, instead, they want to just dominate a strong woman so they feel better.
Right.
They don't actually really want a strong woman.
Right. No, so they want power.
Power.
And we're just generally man bashing. No, but
no,
we're not. But there's
an energy to it.
There is. And I think, with narcissists especially, there's a thing of winning. It's all about winning, right? But I think sometimes when it comes to gender differences, I think it's more about how we're wired. And there's an instinct to fix and to manage. Like, so if we come to each other and you and I have a conversation about, I have this problem, you and I have no problem sitting there hashing it out and going over the details in depth over a glass of wine for like hours, right?
Right.
And walking away at the end of the night going, nothing solved, but damn, I feel better. Like, that was great.
Right. We just ended world peace.
Yeah, we solved all the world's problems and we're good. But a man, like, if I go to a man with the same issue, he's going to be like, what can I do? How do I fix it? I just want you to stop crying. I don't want to hear more words about it. I just want to fix it and let's move. And so there's this difference about how we handle things and what, like, if I go to somebody and I have an issue that's on my mind, I probably don't want you to solve it. I just want you to listen.
Right.
And it's those love languages and stuff we hear about. And I think that's the difference, where a man's instinct is like, let me handle it. I've got this. I'm going to fix it. Boom. No, that's not what we really, that's not really what we want.
We really want. Right.
Yeah. I don't want you to fix my problems. I just want you to, like, listen to me. Even, use your selective hearing, pretend that this is happening right now and you're hearing me out. But I think there is that difference, right?
Oh,
until you get that, I just want to, like, clarify for the listeners, because in a narcissist relationship, it's definitely going to
very different,
very different, and it's it's definitely going to be where they have to be in charge and in the know of what's happening.
In a narcissistic world, it really is the only way to say it. It's their way or the highway, and it really is like that,
right?
And they're never wrong, ever. It's like they could tie their shoe wrong and they say the shoe's tied wrong. Like, no, it's not. It's obvious on backwards. You know what I mean? Like, they are never wrong, ever. And they can't be. They have to, and they surround another key piece. They surround themselves with people that never question them, that never cross them. So either they just submit all the time, or they just live in fear. That was my father, right? So everyone in the family just does what they're told. They don't even question him. They just don't even try. Like, I questioned him, and guess what? I got kicked out of the family, right?
Mm-hmm.
So people just don't question him. I remember, just to give you an example, at one point when I was still in good graces and all that time, I looked at my half brother and I said, I'm thinking about going to law school. He goes, oh God, don't tell Dad. I go, why? He goes, you know how he hates lawyers. Don't do that. If you do, just do it and don't tell him. It's like this fear. like, that's crazy. I can't just tell my father what I want to do with my life. I'm like 30 years old or whatever.
Right.
He's like, yeah. Don't do that. He had been trained. The half-brother had been living with him for his whole life. I had not. He had been trained. Do not question him. Do not cross him, and don't go against his rules. And if you do, you will get a consequence of that. Even if that means when you're 30 years old, you want to go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. So the same thing with the new ex, right? He is the same way. He was happy with me as long as I was building our quote unquote / his business. The moment I was like, I think I'm going to start something else over here for me. What? Why?
Right.
What are you doing?
The minute
What are you doing?
Because then now he's losing control.
Mm-hmm.
And so
he's losing control.
He ended up regaining it then by taking both your businesses.
Right. Yeah. So, and what you need to know is the day that when it was a breakup, it was as they call it, there's a term in narcissism. It was a no contact.
Yeah.
It was a, right. It was a hardcore line.
He drew that line. He disappeared.
The therapist did.
Okay. The therapist told you don't ever have contact with him again.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it wasn't for the therapist, because I'm the kind of person that like, okay, we're having a little fight in about a week, I'll call you. Like I'm that I'm the bridge person, remember? Because I was taught this like keep the peace, right? So I kind of go there sometimes. So she's like, oh no, like, shh. Right. So it was like that. And I still had the ring, and I didn't want the ring, but he emptied the bank accounts and rent was due. Now you got to get, I've been doing very well in my life. Right. And I have a good, successful consulting business and this and this and this. And we were doing very, very well financially, but I'm over here thinking about the relationship, my heart and my feelings, all that stupid woman shit. And he's over there, taking everything and leaving me high and dry. And so like no kidding, rent was due. And I wasn't living with him. I had my separate house, we went back and forth. And I had to hawk the ring. I didn't want to. I kept texting him through the therapist, like, I do not want to sell this ring. It's not my ring. Just have the ring. I just need some cash to move on. And he had said, this is a narcissistic, okay? He said in front of the therapist months prior, the therapist asked him, look, if y'all break up, I don't know what's going to happen, but if y'all break up, you're not going to just leave her high and dry, right? You're going to make sure she's taken care of financially, right? Because right now you're controlling all the finances of the company, right? He's like, no, I would never do that. I would make sure she's taken care of if something happens, right? In front of the therapist, third party. And so she looks at me and goes, okay, he said that he'd take care of you. You got to trust that, Heather. Okay. Right. And then meanwhile, like it's all going down in front of the therapist. And it was a huge gift that it happened in front of the therapist, because the thing that the narcissist cannot stand is to look bad. Mm-hmm. Cannot stand. And so the fact that it was all going down in front of a third party makes it worse for him, because there's a third party watching. If it was just him and I, it would be a he said, she said, and I'm cray cray. Now, everyone in his life who I thought were people in my life, the people that I thought were my friends, quickly within a week, I'm going silent because I'm over here in grief, and he is bad mouthing me everywhere. I had people unfriend me. I had people I don't want to ever talk to you again. I don't even know what he's telling them, right? What he's probably saying is I'm crazy, cray, blah, 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 telling all these lies, and all these people that I thought were friends are gone in a week. They all took his side because, he's this big, strong, good looking, powerful guy, and they're not going to question him. Right. That's what a narcissist does. Yep. You question me, you're out of my life. Right. I'm right. Do not question me. She's crazy. You're going to pick me, not you're out of my life. And they all picked him. That's part of the control mechanism. It's a very common occurrence. He's very charismatic. He's very good looking. He's a doctor. I can go on and on. And so, so people, it's easy to pick him over me. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he controlled that narrative right from the get-go.
Control. Immediately. I had people that were in my life for 10 years, just gone. and I didn't even get a chance to he's like, even can you just hear my side out, And I'm just not like that, probably because of years ago of the divorce. I'm not like that. I'm not a person like, oh, I'm going to just badmouth him, because it's just like, I'm just not going to badmouth him. I'll tell you what happened. From my view, but I'm definitely not going to be like, he's an asshole. I'm just not like that.
Right.
He is,
but yeah.
And I'm just not going to do the whole, bad mouthing, just a bad mouth.
Well, where are you now in this process? I think things are still happening.
No, my business is back up. I focus on myself. When you focus on yourself and stop betraying yourself, and this is just me in general, when I stop betraying myself and focus on myself and taking care of myself and loving myself, things shift, right? Things open up, things shift, business is back on, and growing my business. I've been, my podcast is 65,000 downloads every single podcast, 3.5 million reach. I'm about to launch a new book. Things are going well because I started focusing on myself, right? Started focusing on what needs to take care of Heather versus taking care of, excuse my language, but taking care of a man. And I understand that we're taught that. I understand women are taught to take care of our man, and I get that. But sometimes it's like, you got to make sure you're taking care of yourself first. You got to make sure you have your eyes are wide open, girl. I'm not saying he's going to do anything, and you got to have your eyes wide open. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And so, okay, what I'm hearing is that for you, it sounds like when things with these relationships with the men in your life, you end up being very successful in business. Like you are like diving in. But that's kind of your place. That's your outlet. That's like, success is the best revenge, right?
Yeah, it is. It completely is. The thing I'm bumping up against now in my life is that I'm very strong right now, and I'm going fast in business. And in my experience, and as of right now, the more I get momentum in business and the more I'm focused on business, again, like I said, I don't care what they say in movies, men don't want it. They say they want it. They say they want that strong woman, but there's a reason why Jennifer Aniston's single. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
The girl's hot. She's smoking hot. Like, I'd bang her. You know what I mean? Like, she's smoking hot. I'd marry her. She's hot. She's smart. She's intelligent. She's freaking wealthy, rich. And for some reason, she can't keep a guy. Come on. How much better can you get than Jennifer Aniston?
Right.
And she got great hair. Come on.
That is true. Yeah.
So I think, and she's strong and she's independent. I think that, again, like I said, and I'm not trying to diss, it's not a man bash. I just wish that people would be more honest of like, yeah, we think it's hot, but not really want.
Right. So what do you when you think in terms of relationships now and what your experience has been, it hasn't been all that positive, and you've, dealing with narcissists is devastating on so many levels, because that can really, because everything that we thought to be true was a lie. And
everything
and with a narcissist. So that's just like cuts you to the core. And for me, in my experience with it, and I'm wondering if this is the same for you or not, so I'm curious to hear your answer, but
sure.
But like, I have trouble with that relates to all people. Like, I know that I never wanted to be that bitter woman with 11 cats. No offense to everybody cat lovers, but that's not not who I want to be. Right. In my mind, I'm like, I don't want to become that woman where I'm like, I'm never getting married, and I'm never going to trust anybody, and I'm never going to do that. Like, I don't
think I'm there.
Right. Yeah. Cause
hopefully I'm not coming across that way. God, I hope not.
No. And I'm curious though, because like, okay, so when we approach a relationship or a new relationship, obviously we're going to have some guards up. We're going to have some past experience. What is your method of approaching relationships now, and here's where I'm at right now. So here's where I'm at right now. And I'm not saying that everyone should be here. However,
one of the sayings that I was told a long time ago, which is the saying that got me out of my life. And I had to really look at my patterns. Like we all have patterns, but I had to really look at my patterns the last 10 years through the last couple months. Like my therapist and my coach was like, okay, here we go. Like you're looking at your patterns.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I got patterns. Look at that. So I had to really look at those patterns. And every single time I betrayed myself in a situation, it could have been small too, really small, or big, like I just dropped the business for him or something. That's a big one.
What's an example of a small one? Sorry.
It could just be, well, I want this. And it's like, I really wanted something else, but okay. Wasn't a compromise. It's between compromise and just betrayal of oneself. That's a big difference. And not being able to speak up and say, oh, I really want this and I want to compromise. It's those tiny little, not, what I call it, killed by 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And you see women talk about this all the time. They're like, well, after 10 years and 20 years, I just didn't realize I lost myself, right? You hear that.
Yes.
Because there's these tiny little, we put it in our head as compromise. Well, we're not doing that because of the relationship or for the kids. That's what we do in our head. We'll sacrifice. And yet if you look at, and this is not against men, if you look at the patterns of a man, okay, generally speaking, they will say to you, I'm going to baseball with my buddies. They don't even think twice. I got to sacrifice for the relationship. They just don't. You have to tell them you got to sacrifice the relationship. You got to compromise. They automatically say, I want to go do this. I'm going to go do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I call it a trained man. A trained man who's been married for 25 years is going to say, hey, I really want to go to the baseball game, honey. Is that cool? Like, but that's a trained dude. That's not
right.
That's like, oh, you've been married for 20 years.
That's a man who has learned.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But they don't automatically do that. The woman automatically sacrifices and betrays herself.
We automatically ask for the permission.
We automatically, or no, we just sacrifice.
Right.
Our friend and says, hey, let's go to have wine. We don't even ask permission. We just say no.
Right.
Because I got to be here for the kids or Gary or Bob or whatever. Next thing you know, it's like years later. And where's you? Where's your passions? Where's your desires with that? So it's what I call the 1,000 cuts.
Mm-hmm.
And if I looked at my patterns, and this is not just in relationships with men, this is in relationships with myself. Every time that I betrayed myself, every time that I didn't listen to myself and listen to either a man or somebody else, like a coach or a consultant or something, right? Where they didn't have my best interest and didn't really listen to my higher self. Every time, that's where I hit a wall.
Right.
And that's my biggest thing now. So I'm really upfront where I'm at now. If I date or when I'm doing some, app dating, I am super upfront. Like, this is me. You know what I mean? If it doesn't work for you, cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I am not going to alter much for you. Right. There's compromise, but then there's altering. And women do this. We do this. I know we do this. We see a guy they like, and we will twist our asses into a pretzel to get them to like us. We twist ourselves into something that we go, who am I years later?
Right. Versus
standing in who we are, and this is me, and the right person will be attracted to me. I don't have to fit into a pretzel to get a guy to like us. Why do I know we do this? Look at the health and wellness industry and the beauty industry. All the stuff we do to look beautiful. That's all of us, A, looking good for other women, and B, putting ourselves into a pretzel to be loved and liked by the other side, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of it has to do with that. So for me, where I'm at right now goes back to this. I always ask myself the question, does this feed my confusion or strengthen my clarity? It's the question that got me out of a lot in my life. So I asked myself the question, does it feed my confusion, strengthen my clarity? The moment that, and this might sound odd, it's been really freeing actually. The moment that a man, it's been a lot lately, the man starts to cause a lot of drama in my life. Like he starts to just cause a lot of drama. they're out.
And how does a man start trauma? Because
oh my God, a lot. They are, well, they're all gone now, but I had a lot of guys just cause drama and in my life. And I think a female will say, oh, I'm sorry, or try to fix it or like submit to that. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. And I just don't deal with the drama. It's just don't deal with it.
Do you find that men find you, or are you finding men? Is there anybody like you pursued, or are you usually the one in pursuit? Being pursued.
They pursue me. I'm not a pursuit. They pursue me. I'm not a big pursuer.
Would it just now? I'm super curious. Because it sounds like you're a challenge for a guy, and you're going to get that guy who wants to like wrangle that, tie you up for like the little
tiger,
calf, right?
Uh-huh.
What would it look like if you were to pursue a man? What would that be like?
It would definitely be uncomfortable. It'd be new for me, and I'd be fine with it. Like, I think that'd be kind of fun.
Would that be a game changer for you? Like, does that seem weird or out of this? Like, even what kind of guy would you think, like, I'm gonna, go after that?
So there's a word for this, and I don't know what it is, but it's the word where a person is turned on by an intellect.
Mm-hmm.
There's a word for it. I don't know what it is.
Unusual.
Unusual. I'm attracted to intellectual conversation.
Yeah.
An intellectual, deep conversation. Smart men. So it's interesting. I was in a mastermind so I've been in the speaking business for a long time, 01. My first mastermind with all men was like 02, 03. I mean, it's me and a bunch of millionaires in a room. And yes, they asked me to go get coffee. Over the years, I have learned to tell them to go get me coffee. So I was in a mastermind room with like 100 guys, all business owners, all successful. And that's normal for me. I feel very, very confident in that space. It almost feels like a warm bath. It's normal. So the guy reaches over to me, guy that I met, he's married, and he says, I notice you're really comfortable here. And I'm like, yep. Is there a reason why I shouldn't be? He's like, well, I'm just saying that most women wouldn't be very comfortable sitting in a room of 100 millionaires. I'm like, okay, well, because to me, this is where I belong. And he's like, see, most women wouldn't really get that. I'm like, okay. And I'm not most women. What's your point? Right? I don't get your point. So he was pointing out that one, I'm not like most women. I'm like, shocker. Right. So, but at the same time, I'm more comfortable in the masculine energy. He's like, you have a lot more masculine energy than you do feminine energy. And I'm well aware of that. What I think is really interesting, then, this might sound odd, but over the years of all those men that I've been around in business, I look at their wives. Sometimes I'm like, who would they date, right? Who would they marry?
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, in my experience, last 15 years, if I had to put a number on it, let's say 90% or maybe 85%, but pretty high. Okay. Majority of the men that I bet that are strong and they've got a big business, stuff like that. Their wives have nothing to do with the business. They are extremely submissive and they want nothing to do with the business. They focus on the kids or whatever. And they're there just to provide support. They're not there to provide partnership. That makes sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So, there's a guy that I know who's been married 3 times, extremely successful, really successful guy. His last wife, he went to the Philippines and got a girl from the Philippines. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can get the world of that, right?
Yeah.
Not American. She never questions anything he says. If he's like, I'm moving to Vegas and I'm moving to LA. Okay, honey. You know what I mean? Like, let me go pack the bags. So I think that one of the challenges that as women in the Me Too movement are happening and women are getting stronger, they are bringing home the bank in a weird way. I feel sorry for the guys because they've got to either, find women outside the other country, or they've got to learn to be stronger in who they are and be more confident in who they are. Because I cannot tell you how many times I've heard this. I'm so sick of hearing this. I heard this yesterday. Well, most men can't handle you, Heather. And I'm like, well, then get a set of balls, dude. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you want me to do? You want me to like not be me?
Right.
Do you want me to, I have spent almost 20 years of my life, because part of that's with my father, trying to be something I'm not. And I'm at a point now, I'm 43 years old. This is me. Do I want a partner? Yes. Do I want someone that could look at me in the eye and we could have a great conversation and we could go great together? Yes. There's 6 billion people on the planet. You can't tell me there's not one man that's not like that, right? So I think there is.
Yeah.
But I think in today's world, with where we're headed, with women becoming more and more career-minded, I think men have to catch up. This is more about men having to learn to catch up.
Where do you think you would find this guy that...
No idea. Maybe on your podcast.
Maybe. It could happen. It could happen. Well, and I think this goes into something else that we want to talk about was, so the stigma of being divorced at a certain age in life and later in life or after the age of 40 even is different than being a woman of the same age and never having been married.
Yeah. So one of the stigmas I'm getting, or the feedback or pushback I get when I'm on these apps, and you know how these apps are, like Tinder and Bumble. The good thing about them is that people say whatever the hell they want. The bad thing is people say whatever the hell they want, right? Because there's no, like, you're not sitting across a table from them saying it. You're on an app.
Right.
So people say a lot.
There's a lot of power behind anonymity on an app.
Yeah, there's a lot, right? So they feel free to say whatever the hell they want. And I've got a lot of like, well, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you married? And so I'm like, okay, so what you're saying is something's wrong with me because I made some good decisions when I was younger and I knew that I wasn't ready to get married and I didn't have babies when I was 22. Is that what you're saying? So, or is it that it's not that I didn't find good people or good guys. I just hasn't been the right one for me. Why is it there has to be this particular pathway, Right. And I get a lot of stigma of that. Something must be wrong with you. I'm like, actually, maybe something's right with me. Maybe I didn't get married just to get married, to have the check mark. I actually really wanted to have a partner. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Like the same.
Yeah. It's kind of, as I'm sitting here listening, I'm like, it's so funny because on the podcast, we've talked about there's a stigma of being divorced. And especially I felt it after being divorced twice at a young age, right? Like, what's wrong with me? It's kind of like, once it's acceptable. After 2, people are like, okay, what's wrong with this broad? Like, clearly nobody wants you. You're crazy. So I feel like whether, hearing from you is the same kind of thing. Like, what's wrong with you? You have never been married, or it's what's wrong with you? You didn't make it. Basically, the big question is, what's wrong with you? You're not married.
Yeah. It's like, it's almost in a weird way, kind of what's wrong with you? If someone doesn't love you, how can I? I don't know what's weird about that. And it's also my age. I'm 43. So in the millennials in the 20s right now, or even the late 30s, they don't have that. No. I don't think they don't have that at all. Like, all that's gone. They're more like, why would I get married?
Right.
You know what I mean?
When I talk to people like millennials and they're like, you were married twice already by this age that I am. And I'm like, man, I've been married and divorced twice before you were that age. So, and they just are like, I can't even imagine. And I'm like, I can't even imagine, like, have not done it. It's weird. It's definitely changing.
It's changing. And I live in Austin. So I live in a very millennial town. And I find it refreshing. But I find it refreshing when I talk to people just because they don't have that stigma. Yeah. They're all about why she's married. Tell me the reason. Okay, I'll live with you because that's going to help my rent. But tell me again why I should get married. Like, I don't know if I want to get married.
Yeah.
They're on the way other side of it. We are taught, I mean, I was born in 75, so you get the genre of that.
Yep.
But I was, when I mean bred, like I was told, you're not going to really amount to much. Your job is to have babies. Like I was told that shit. So, and and I mean this, when I went to my 20-year reunion, pretty much every girl there, that was what they did. Again, not against it, but it's a training mechanism.
Right.
So the fact that I rebelled against that, if you would say, and didn't, was this huge, well, what? How dare you? But meanwhile, there's people like, I'm so jealous of you, right?
Yeah.
So there's,
yeah.
What does marriage really have to do with life? Now, there's a lot of stats around people who are married are more financially successful. Yes, totally get that. I can see completely. I think that people who are married for a long time, they can be happier. It's a partner. I get all that. But in today's world, with where we're at, with the internet and travel and building businesses anywhere, what is the point of marriage now?
Mm-hmm. Right.
What really is? I know people that have been together for 10 years and they're together.
Right.
They're monogamous. They're together. Do they really need to have the
paper and the ring?
Paper?
And that's interesting too, because, the higher, the people with the lower divorce rates are people who are agnostic and atheist.
Really?
Yeah.
Agnostic.
Like,
I can see that.
Isn't that fascinating? Because you would think, I think the highest was Baptist was the highest divorce rate. I could be wrong, but I grew up
Baptist. That's so funny.
Yeah.
I can see that. I remember, so very few people know about this about me. I went to Baylor University, which is a Baptist school.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very Southern Baptist. My first semester in college. I actually failed out my first semester because Heather was depressed. So I just drank. That's what I did when I was younger that time. I don't drink now. So that's how that goes. But when I was younger, I was young and I didn't know what to do. So I drank. But I remember when I was at this table with my Bible study and these girls are going around the table like, what's your degree or something? And two of them said, well, I'm just here for an MRS degree.
Oh.
And I literally said, I don't know what that is. What is that?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I'm just here to get married. And I was like, you're spending how much per credit hour for what?
But right.
$325 per credit hour to get married?
That's crazy.
What? But very common.
People do it. And it is very common today, I'm sure. I wouldn't know. I'm guessing at some universities, that's probably a common thing.
Yeah. Well, it was a Baptist. That's what.
Yeah. Right.
That.
Yeah. And then I could, and in the South, right?
South. Oh yeah. Texas, Southern, very, very Southern. Baylor is extremely Southern Baptist, right?
Right.
So
wow.
There's a statement to that. I think I can see where agnostic comes from, why it's more successful, because if I'm going to insert this, not based on data, but I would insert that they're coming from choice, like I choose you as my partner.
Yeah. For
no other reason, just because I choose you, I get that. That's kind of where I'm at in my life now. I'm not interested in having a husband just to have a husband. I'm more like, if there's someone in my life that I come across and I'm like, wow, I choose you. I choose you to be in my life. Yeah. I choose you to be in my space. I'm like, let's go. Let's do that.
I don't want to. Yeah. It's not necessarily like I need you to build a life. I want to share my life with you.
Yeah. It's a very choice.
It's different
premise. It's a very different premise. And I think that happens with age. It's like, oh, I don't have to have every single person I come across in my life. I get to choose who I communicate with. I get to choose who I spend time with. I get to choose who I create with. I get to choose who I sleep with. I get to choose that now. And that comes from a very, very strong standpoint. I believe it's the higher evolution. Mm-hmm. And yet majority of people just aren't there, and that's okay. That is okay. Do I want, love? Of course. And do I want to share my life with somebody? Of course. And I want to make sure that they're choosing me for me.
Right.
And I'm choosing them for who they really are too. And it's just good, you know? It doesn't have to be hard. It shouldn't have to be hard. So I'm in a conversation the other day with a guy that's really after me. And I said to him, look, this is too hard. You're making this hard. And this shouldn't be hard. You know, like I'm all about moving through stuff and figuring it out, and things can be challenging in relationships. But there's a difference between, you know, challenges and hard, you know? And I'm like, this is like too, you know, we're just like, it's not meshing, right? Like, why are you trying so hard? But the more I tell him that, the more like, you know, oh, I want you more, you know, like, no, I'm being serious. Well, this is not a ploy to get you to come. And this is actually like, this is working.
That's why I'm wondering what it would look like for Heather to go after somebody else and find somebody who is like kind of a challenge for you instead. You know, more stimulating for you.
Can you just let me know who that is?
I don't know.
I'm thinking of all the people in my life right now, and there really isn't one.
Yeah.
And I don't say that in a negative way. I just say that in a, like, I haven't found someone. I guess I could say I haven't really found someone that's my match.
Do you usually find people who are very similar to you, or like in the business world and kind of going the same path? Is that usually what you've dated in the past? Because it sounds like you've dated a lot of successful men.
I have. I've tried both. I've tried, you know, someone similar, an entrepreneur. I've also tried someone who doesn't even know how to spell entrepreneur, you know? And or guys who are just, don't want anything to do with entrepreneurship. Right. So I've kind of run the gamut on that. I wouldn't say one's better than the other. If I had to say what I think that I would want, is I would want somebody, and I think that would be a better fit long-term. The controlling ego side of me says, oh, I don't want a man who's in this business. The higher self part of me who says who I'd be really happy with, I'd want a person that's creating big things in his life too. And we're like living that together.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like a Jennifer Aniston and a Brad Pitt, right? Together, right? Like they're both in their own world. They're both creating. They're both strong. They're both doing their own thing. They're both going after their own passion, and they're together.
And at each day they come together.
Yeah. They're like, they both know each other's business. Like two actors, when two actors date and they're in a relationship together and it works, it makes sense, right? Because they both understand the industry together. They understand what it takes. They understand going to the parties. They understand. What sucks is when you have someone who's in the industry, like say acting, because it's easy, and someone who's not, and is not interested in that world, doesn't want to go to the red carpet, doesn't want to go to the parties, that is hard.
Yes. Yeah.
You know? So I'd rather be like